Hi, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use the batch functions in AutoPhaser to help you optimize the data processing parameters. So we'll begin by opening AutoPhaser. The best way to set up these batch runs is to begin by processing the file you want to iterate through the processing options on in the normal manner. And in this case we'll just use the file that's already here. Then we'll phase correct that into absorption mode in order to check that we've got the general setup correct. In this case I'll choose the ab initio route for phasing and hit go. Once the file is phased, we can check the success of phasing on the Phasing Excellence tab. And everything here looks good. The phase errors of the peaks are a nice discrete band across the middle of the graph, and so that means we can save this phase correction function information to a file. We do this because when running the batches we could rephase every file from scratch, but it's much faster to reuse a previously saved phase correction function, and so before running the batch I'll change the phasing mode to that. And just before we start the batch running, I'll also zoom in to some peaks in the spectrum so we can see how the peak geometry changes as we iterate through the different values of f, that being the asymmetry of the apodization window. Now to set up the batch process, we move to the Batch Process tab. Whenever you're running batches in AutoPhaser, you can specify the signal to noise ratio for peak picking here, and you can specify what kind of data to save for the batch. In this case we'll choose the default full absorption mode and peaks in a TDMS file format. Now we can choose the type of batch we're going to run, and in this case we're going to be batch iterating a processing parameter, and so we'll choose that option by clicking here. On this window we can choose which parameter we want to iterate through, and there's a few options available. We can choose f, that's the asymmetry of the apodization window. We can choose the number of zero paths we want to apply, or we can choose the fraction of the transient that we want to process. In this case we'll just stick with the window asymmetry option f. Now using these controls down here we can choose the starting and ending values for the iteration and the step size. And once they're selected they'll automatically generate the iteration list in this control here. You can edit this list manually or even enter new values. When you're happy with the iteration list, you just click the Accept button to start the batch. Then AutoPhaser will step through the batch, in this case reprocessing the same file but with different values of f. For each file it also runs the peak detection for each absorption mode spectrum using AutoPeaker. All of the data will be stored in the same folder as the original file, but with file names that include the value of the parameter being varied. And when the batch is complete, AutoPhaser will drop back into single file mode. In a separate video, I'll show you how to process the absorption mode files that were generated during this batch iteration, and that's how you can work out which is the optimum setting to use for processing a larger batch of different files. But thanks for watching this video, and as usual if you want any more information you can contact us at vibration.com or our partners at SpectraSwiss at spectraswiss.ch.